I think I was just on mute. Let's start again. Welcome to another live episode of Marketplace Masters, brought to you by Merchant Spring, the leading marketplace analytics platform for Amazon agencies and vendors. Marketplace Masters strives to go deeper into the challenges Amazon vendors and agencies face to lift e-commerce and marketplace performance via practical actions and insights. I'm your host, Paul Sonneveld, and today we're going to learn how to close the Amazon skills shortage gap. And to help us do this, I have invited Asha to join us and share her expertise and perspectives. Now, let me first introduce you to her. Asha is the founder of Ethiopia Consultancy, a results-driven Amazon strategy consultancy offering e-commerce expertise to global brands. Now, Asha knows Amazon intimately. She's worked at Amazon and now manages the marketplace from the other side of the table. Due to this distinctive position, she has the ability to strategically navigate Amazon for consumer brands. She loves dissecting Amazon as a sales and marketing platform, whilst highlighting what that truly means for a business. Goes without saying that she brings a lot of experience to the conversation today. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Asha.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're talking about the skill shortage gap, or at least that's what we've called it. That obviously implies there is a gap. Let me just start off with, where does this shortage come from? Why is there a gap, and why is it so difficult to find talent in the Amazon space?
So if we take it back 10 years ago, Amazon was treated at retail, typically for many categories, as what I would call a tier 2 or a tier 3 account. COVID then happened, and it is the biggest catalyst of accelerating e-commerce growth. And we went from what would have been the growth accelerated by about 9 years. So we're in a place where Amazon and all levels of e-commerce is in huge demand. Then what do you do to manage Amazon? How do you find the right skills in the market segment to manage Amazon? And that's why we have the skill gaps that we've currently got. You're on mute again, Paul.
Thank you. There is a shortcut that is not working for me here, but thank you. I'm certainly aware. To what extent? How much have aggregators contributed to this? Maybe it's a bit of a contentious topic, but obviously they flooded the market 2 years ago, billions of dollars of capital, starting to buy brands, need to manage these. To what extent did that, in your view, exacerbate the situation?
Well, look, lots of businesses needed to, of course, work out how to manage Amazon. And I think what they did was they either looked to their existing Amazon talent and asked them to upskill themselves very quickly, or they outsourced it to an agency. I feel that it's a fascinating space and time, because people and businesses that needed to drive growth on Amazon had to quickly learn what was working and what wasn't working for them. And it became quite clear that there was a very limited pool of resources that you can tap into to help drive Amazon for you in your business. I think you're on mute again.
Yeah, this is the last time, I promise. I won't do it again. Feel like you've 3 times, was it? Three times you struck her out. I might have to leave the whole webinar to you. You're going to be asking both the questions and the answers, which will be interesting.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into kind of the broader topic now, in terms of finding the skills. Obviously, we're talking about finding talent, so that implies we're talking about recruiting externally, going out there, finding someone with an impressive CV that says Amazon. But why not? Isn't there an option just to kind of develop your own team and promote from within? There must be some e-commerce experience.
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
Yes. My thoughts very much are is when we talk about Amazon skills in the market segment, because Amazon was treated like a tier 2 or tier 3 account, a lot of this skill sets had to self-learn. And then COVID happens, and these skills are being challenged to make Amazon this amazing platform, this sales and marketing platform that I talk about. And then you have senior managers that don't typically understand Amazon. And so when people come in at interview level and can demonstrate through buzzwords such as advertising, A+, analytics, it's quite almost easy to use some of those Amazon buzzwords. Sales managers become quite overwhelmed and almost easily swayed and bring that talent in. The other thing that I think happened is salaries, ridiculous level of salaries were offered if you had the word Amazon on your CV. And when you kind of look back at the last 12 years, what is happening is those pools of people that took a huge salary hike to go and manage people's Amazon businesses didn't necessarily have the skills to see through the strategic plan that they've put in place, and therefore then move around. And very quickly, what we have, I think, in our market segment is a skill shortage in the world of Amazon that I've had to self-learn, haven't had the grit and backbone to see it through. You need failure. Failure is an important way of learning, and you have to be able to make mistakes. The challenge in all of this is also the fact that Amazon is consistently changing. So these skills also need to stay very fresh and very knowledgeable about the things that are happening rapidly across many categories in Amazon. Just last week, there was a huge breaking news, which is that Amazon has decided to stop trading with distributors in Europe, and it will only be trading 1P directly with brand owners. How do they go and find now a huge new pool of Amazon skill sets in the market? Because brands are going to have to either manage 3P, which is another whole skill set, or go and build out an Amazon business unit themselves. So now we're requiring a magnitude of different skills to come in and manage Amazon.
And you've got 8 weeks to sort it, right? At least that's what the email said.
Some fortunate businesses, I'd say 8 weeks. Some have until next year, but there's some very tough decisions that brand owners are going to have to make. Yeah.
So I just want to go back to the recruitment question and the fact that it's easy in an interview as an Amazon guru to impress, I guess the person on the other side of the table with, the fact that there's a slight difference in Amazon knowledge and terminology, or vocabulary, I should even say. What advice do you actually have to, say, e-commerce managers that maybe I'm not that experienced in Amazon, but looking to hire Amazon expertise in their business? Or what are some of the biggest kind of mistakes that you see them make, or some of the things that you'd really encourage them to think about as they go through that process?
In terms of recruitment, in the 3 years of owning this agency, I always say, when people come to me and say, look, I think we need to hire an Amazon talent, what do we do? I always start by saying, what type of Amazon skill are you looking for? I like to put the Amazon skills into buckets. You have the strategic leads, the ones that love negotiating terms or building hybrid models, or unpicking what are the core nuances are of Amazon. I then say that you have marketeers that want to grow the brand, love Amazon advertising, brand stores, promotions, all of that fluffy stuff that we call marketing.
Yeah.
You have then an analyst that loves crunching numbers, creates P&Ls, understands net PPM, or the challenges with margins with 3P and loss buy box and all that stuff. Or you have an operations person that is always constantly forecasting, looking at different operational mechanisms with Amazon, whether it's FOB or FBM or whatever operational mechanics that there are. So technically, I see there are 4 types of buckets of Amazon skills. To businesses that are hiring, first, I think it's really important to understand where you are in your journey with Amazon and what do you want to do over the next 3 years. What's your 3-year business plan with Amazon? And then hire the talent based around what you want to do to drive your business forward. So quite often, like I said, businesses come to us and say they want to hire Amazon talent. And we as an agency challenge that thinking, and we will say to them, let us conduct an audit and assessment for you first. Let us find for you what is working, what's not working, and we'll present it back to you. And then we will help and support recruiting in that space based on the findings of what's working and what's not working well for you.
And I like how you sort of laid out the 4 different skill set. I mean, clearly depends on where you are as a business and also the amount of budget, right? So if you do have the headcount budget for an extended team, some of this may become a little bit easier. But I sort of want to just take back and let's just take the perspective. We could take different perspectives here, but let's take the perspective of a vendor, right? And in fact, I was talking to a Spanish vendor earlier this evening, my time. And they've just been on the Amazon vendor platform for about a year, not very long, really in a kind of getting to learn the platform in that build phase. But, with that also probably small headcount, right? There are many people in their business don't know about Amazon vendor. Half the management team is not convinced. So, no one's going to write a blank check for like 10-person team. In a situation like that, obviously it's a bit of a theoretical scenario here, but, starting out as a vendor, where would you start in terms of the skill set if you were to hire? And part of my question, sorry, it's a long one, is what do you need to hire for versus what skills can you teach, right? If you have to pick.
So
a few different angles in there, so I can go over it if I need to.
Yeah, so I would say for a business that is either just launching in the space of Amazon or have been established for a year, I challenge whether you need to hire immediately or whether you'd bring in an expert agency and outsource those elements. And I'm not sure if I should say this loudly, but I don't believe that you should outsource your entire Amazon business to an agency. What I believe you should do is have somebody managing elements of it, but outsource specialists area. So for the vendor that you're just talking about, I probably would recruit an Amazon account manager, a junior Amazon account manager, but then use an external agency to support this person that could potentially even train, coach, develop, but an agency that could also manage for things like Amazon advertising, content listings optimization, even strategy consultancy. And then what you have is sustainable growth in that business. And then you're able to decide in year 2, year 3, if you have the capital to be able to add more skills to your existing team. And Paul, I know you've asked me that question, but I actually just want to take it to another topic that relates to this. It's another problem that I have clients coming to me with, which is we want to grow our business in Europe or globally. And they rely on their existing Amazon skills in their business or their teams to do this for them. And I challenge their thinking again, because the expectation that your existing Amazon team, who is running the day-to-day of your Amazon business, to then move their thinking and their day-to-day work into the space of growing and expanding into Europe or globally, that's an ask that I'm not sure that business owners have really thought it through. And this is where you probably do need to outsource and hire use a consultancy to a point to do the launch for you, to almost hand it back and use your existing team to manage it going forward.
The other thing that as you were talking strikes me a lot is we haven't really sort of spoken a little bit about Amazon vendor, But then there's, of course, the Amazon seller as well. And, even talking to a lot of, I'm yet to meet a vendor that just has a vendor account. Most of them will have a seller account, a hybrid approach, or they may be a vendor in Europe, but they're expanding to the US in the seller account. For some of this might be like super obvious, but I just want to sort of be great if you just lay it out. Hiring for an Amazon vendor channel might be very different to an Amazon seller channel in terms of the skill set and expertise. Can you just kind of touch on some of those differences?
I think there are differences because, of course, the platforms are different, but the underlying skills I don't think differ. You do still need to have somebody that's building and executing the strategy. I think it is a lot more, less strategical work, I'd say, in the fact that with vendor, you should be, the person that's leading the strategy needs to understand how Amazon is placed as a huge, against all your bricks and mortar or your independents or all the other channels. Whereas with seller, you are more in control of your price. You are more able to be reactive. So you probably need more hands-on doers, I'd say, in that space. Of course, you still need the marketer. Of course, you still need the analytics, and of course, you still need the operations. So those skills are still just as important.
That's certainly true. You mentioned agencies before, right? And using agencies for certain tasks. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room here. Like hiring an agency, particularly in the UK, is expensive, right? How do you? I guess I'm asking you to put your agency hat on more, which is when you're talking to vendors or to sellers and you're helping them with the resourcing. And I really like the fact that you're not like, hey, give me your whole business. Let me do a specific thing, and do something in-house. But how do you paint that picture for them? How do you paint that business case for them in terms of the agency fees and those external costs, which a lot of times comes out of a different budget as well, right? So sometimes there's sort of internal cost allocation politics involved too.
Yeah. Look, it's never easy for a business to sign off on agency fees because having said that, more and more conversations I'm having recently is that they do want to reduce fixed costs in the business. So having an agency contract, albeit just 6 months, it allows the business to be a bit more flexible and dynamic in the way that they're working. But it's also allows them to almost gain knowledge and confidence that their Amazon business is working because an agency, the requirement of an agency is to be experts. And that's the requirement I have with my own team, is that we're all experts at what we do. And we work with a number of different vendors or seller across a range of different markets and across a range of different catalogs. So we are quite experienced and astute, I'd say, actually, in the problems and the challenges that are faced. Whereas when you homegrown your own talent, which can I just say again, that I think it's very important that you do that. Sometimes what happens is tunnel vision happens, and tunnel vision because they only know what they know because they're working in your business and in amongst your brands and your products on a day-to-day basis. So having an agency provide external influences and external experience is quite important. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it may also answer the question that you said earlier, which is how do people stay fresh?
Yeah, and the benefit of expertise and experiences, across a wider set of countries, clients, categories, not having to learn by trial and error, right, all the time. I think they're really, really valid points.
And Paul, can I just add to that as well? I think as I look at the last kind of couple of years amongst COVID, and what I saw happen was lots of good Amazon talent moved around really, really quickly. Now, why did that happen as well? And why were businesses not able to retain their Amazon talent? senior leaders in the business ahead of the pandemic, like I said, treated Amazon, at a real distance. They didn't know how, what is this big beast and how to manage them. And you had their Amazon managers, account managers in there, no doubt advocating and pushing for more stock, or challenging the way promotions were set up at wider retail and the impact that would have at Amazon, or the investment Amazon probably needed in terms of advertising from a marketing budget, as opposed to stop accounting for it in just an Amazon P&L. And then these people get frustrated. They get frustrated that they weren't heard. They get frustrated that they needed support and budgets to be signed off, and this didn't happen. And this frustration leads to Amazon talent moving elsewhere. But the challenge with that also is, I do think Amazon people that are do need to see through the time that they are working in at businesses, and don't just be pulled into different directions at salaries, because there is a shortage gap in the skills. But the shortage gap actually exists, in my opinion, of really good Amazon talent. And really good Amazon talent need to understand the importance of strategically navigating Amazon in your own business, but staying fresh from an outside perspective and understanding what's going on in the Amazon world. And that is the engagement of agencies as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's I was going to say, just listen to these podcasts, and that's how you can stay fresh, right? But that's just a shameful plug. What I was going to ask, it's probably a very specific question, but I'm just super keen to hear it in terms of, as you're talking about talent, we're talking about really retention, right? There's a big skills gap. People are hard to find and hard to keep as well, particularly in the context of the skills shortage, and also within the role of Amazon, which probably isn't as deserving as it should be within a lot of organizations. Certainly with a lot of vendors. You mentioned the word like junior account manager. There's no kind of, that makes complete sense, but that means, will that person even have a seat at the table with the account managers that run the Tesco accounts and the other accounts, right?
Well, can I just stop you there? Because this is another thing that almost makes me laugh, that I feel really passionate about, is when I see job adverts out there titled Amazon National Account Manager. Paul, what is an Amazon National Account Manager? Is it somebody that is managing Tesco and Sainsbury's, or the entertainers and the bricks of the world, then managing Amazon? How is that? How are those skills the same? They're not. So a national account manager for Amazon, in my opinion, does not exist.
Well, it gets particularly where there's fewer account managers on the Amazon side, vendor managers to even negotiate and talk with, right? The nature of the relationship has always been very different, but it feels like it's moving in a very different direction to, having to negotiate with a buyer at Sainsbury's, right? Very much.
Whereas Amazon, you don't have, it's less and less people to negotiate or to talk to. Amazon job titles, you have Amazon leads, you have head of e-commerces, which is a role that I like a title for, because actually, if you want to home grow your talent, the job title should almost be broad to allow them to actually and encourage them to want to look outside of also managing Amazon. And there is a huge e-commerce channel here. It's not just Amazon. Of course, Amazon is a huge element of it, but there is a huge e-commerce channel. But going back to the job titles, national account manager for Tesco and for Sainsbury's exists, because I can understand that, and that's quite a traditional job title. But a national account manager for Amazon, I'm not sure is the correct job title, because you don't negotiate, you don't go and see your buyer, you don't have buyers. You fundamentally need to be seeking opportunities in your Amazon business, testing and learning and analyzing what works and what doesn't work.
So it sounds like on the top of our retention strategy, give people a job title that's a little bit more meaningful, and not misleading. But more seriously, though, on the topic of retention, I know we're talking more about recruitment, but I sort of they're part of the same coin. What have you seen your clients do well? Those that manage to hold on to not just standard Amazon talent, but great Amazon talent, which is hard to get. What are they doing well to hold on to those people?
Truthfully, it's the ones that have given the opportunity to the juniors that I called, and I don't really want to call them juniors. I'd call them the opportunists in here. They have homegrown that talent, and they've done that through seeking external support, whether that's through training or whether that's through help and support in specialist areas. And I feel like the businesses that I work with that have this hybrid model, and I call it a hybrid model, not in the way that we're talking about it. I mean an agency and internal. The internal candidate is able to has a soundboard almost to go to, which is an external agency, to be able to ask for support and advice on aspects that sometimes one person just doesn't know the answers to. And also that also takes it back to senior managers in a business. The expectation is that they have the skills in their business to just manage Amazon. Senior managers don't know about Amazon. They don't know how to manage Amazon, and that's okay. It's not their roles necessarily to know how to lead and manage Amazon. But who do these Amazon account managers, marketeers, analysts go to soundboard, to test, to find out what works and what doesn't work, what's new, what's not? Are they missing something in their strategic plan that they've built out? And that those clients that I work with that not only have grown their own talent, but also outsource areas to a specialist agency, I think they're the ones that are the most successful.
That's a great segue, just to sort of bring us back up a level, because we started talking about kind of the different options: train or promote from within, develop internally, recruit versus outsourcing or using an agency. Maybe you can if you could just help me. It's a good way to sort of framing our conversation so far. Between each of those three, what do you see as the main drivers between each of those, and how should brands think about those? It's almost like what's the little cheat sheet that you'd give listeners of this podcast in terms of what makes sense when.
Paul, I'm going to ask you to rephrase that question, because I could almost spend another hour talking about this. What's the most important aspect, I'd say, for a business? What is at the heart of what they're trying to achieve? Is a short way of doing it, but please rephrase it so I can give you more on it.
Well, so let's make it really practical. All right. So I'm an Amazon. Let's call it an Amazon vendor. I have a specific talent need, and I could go, hire an agency or upskill an internal team or recruit externally. Those are the options before me to fill a specific need. What are some of those decision points that might lead me one way or another, around the specific need? Or maybe what are some questions that you'd want to ask the vendor do that?
The first thing I'd then say is, I think everybody would typically say, what's your budget? What's the salary? That's probably what I think a lot of people would say. What I would probably say is, what are you trying to achieve with your Amazon growth over the next 3 years? Are you a brand-led business, or are you a trader? If you're a brand-led business, I would then say that you probably want to outsource that specialism to an agency. So I would carve out what is the plan. I'd carve out what are the most important factors. And then I would decide whether I look at my existing team, work out if there is a skills shortage and a gap, How am I going to plug that gap? Because I actually do believe that businesses should be given the opportunity to their own internal candidates first, and give them the opportunity to develop and learn in this Amazon space. Otherwise, we're in a never-ending cycle of a skill shortage gap. And give them the opportunity to learn Amazon from experts, but allow them to also make mistakes and fail, because failure is part of learning.
Great answer. I really like the way you brought that in a very simple way, very understandable. Much better than my question. So thank you for that. I am looking at the clock. We've gone over half an hour, and I'm trying to stick to time. But I just want to prod you on another last final topic. You know, I've heard you talk a lot about the Amazon mindset and how having one can really help brands to be more successful. That sounds really nice, but tell me more about that. What does it really mean when you talk about it? Because a lot of people talk about it, but when you talk about it, what do you mean?
When I talk about the Amazon mindset, I'm talking about senior leaders in a business that understand the importance of Amazon and don't ignore the importance of Amazon. And Amazon isn't an account that should just be treated like a sales account. It's a huge marketing platform too. So by adopting an Amazon mindset, you are understanding what that platform can do for your brand. Can I say, by developing an Amazon mindset, I don't mean that you always put all your eggs in the Amazon basket. It's actually understanding about how to balance. It's unhealthy for a business to only be trading with Amazon, or to have a huge percentage of their business with Amazon. So it's actually about understanding where to balance, where to allocate stock, but the implications of if they then allow independent sellers to sell through Amazon Marketplace, and what that impact would be then on their brand, or the impact of not investing correctly in the space of Amazon advertising, as an example.
Thank you. I like that. I like the answer about, you know, it's really about the organization internally, as opposed to just a specific Amazon specialist that has the Amazon mindset. I think that's the part I hear a lot about, but more about how do you get the whole organization to have that mindset is very, very useful. Okay, well, we are out of time, so we're going to have to wrap it up. Asha, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You've shared a lot of, I think for those of you watching this sort of on demand, you're probably forgiven for thinking that Asha is a full-time sort of Amazon recruiter in its space. She's not. She runs an agency, Ethiopia, with deep expertise, but obviously has had a lot of experience in this space. Which leads me to my next question, which is for anyone who's watching this live or afterwards, or listening to the podcast and want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
Look, I love talking all things Amazon. So thank you for defining it, we are an expert Amazon agency offering a range of different services. And audit and assessments and strategy consultancy is at our heartland, at everything we do. Thus talking about the topic of recruitment in such a passionate way, because it fits such a huge part of what we do. But for anybody that wants to talk Amazon, I am reachable on my email address, which is asha@etopiaconsultancy.com.
Just put it on the screen there, quickly typed away.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. That is great. Well, that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Asha. Look forward to seeing you next week at the White Label Expo in London. For those of you who are going down there, come and say hi. I know Asha's speaking at a couple of the slots and also exhibiting there. So go and check that out. But yeah, thanks for your time, Asha, and till next time.
Thank you very much, Paul. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, that is it for this episode of Marketplace Masters. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to visit merchantspring.io to access exclusive offers only available to listeners and viewers of this show. With that, thank you very much. Until next time.